The mysterious signal Admiral Chun Zhong stood before the massive viewing port of the exploration vessel Terra's Pride, watching the stars streak past as they dropped out of hyperspace. At 62, Chun had spent more years in space than most. People lived on planets, but the sight of unknown star systems still filled him with wonder. The Kepler 442 system stretched before them, a lonely collection of worlds orbiting a dying red giant. "Admiral, we're receiving that signal again," reported Lieutenant Torres from the communications station. "It's definitely artificial, but the pattern is unlike anything in our databases." Sean turned from the viewport, his weathered face showing. The calm focus that had made him one of humanity's most respected explorers. "How long since the signal was first detected?" 3 weeks, sir. Deep space monitoring stations picked it up, but it's so faint that only ships this close can analyze it properly." The bridge of Terra's Pride hummed with quiet activity. Unlike the warships that had made humanity famous across the galaxy, this vessel was built for discovery. Its hull carried advanced sensors, archaeological equipment, and laboratories instead of weapons. Chun believed that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their ability to fight, but their curiosity to explore and understand. "Captain Martinez, take us to the source." Chun ordered. Captain Sarah Martinez nodded from her position at the tactical station. At 35, she was young for her rank, but her combination of tactical brilliance and unwavering moral compass had earned her a place on this mission. "Aye, Admiral. Dr. Tanaka, are your sensors ready?" Dr. Yuki Tanaka looked up from her xenarchaeology station, excitement barely contained in her professional demeanor. "All archaeological scanners are online, Captain. If there's anything down there from an extinct civilization, we'll find it." As Terra's Pride approached the 4th planet in the system, the signal grew stronger. It pulsed in a complex mathematical sequence that suggested intelligence, but the underlying technology was completely foreign to human science. "Admiral," called Engineer Kwaimisante from his position at the engineering console, "I'm detecting massive structures on the planet's surface. These aren't natural formations." The main screen filled with images of the planet below. Kepler 442b was a dead world, its atmosphere thin and cold, but covering its largest continent were structures that defied imagination. Crystalline towers rose kilometers into the sky, connected by bridges that seemed to float without visible support. Gardens of metallic trees covered vast areas, their surfaces still gleaming despite obvious age. "How old are these structures?" Chun asked, his voice filled with awe. Dr. Tanaka ran her scans, her instruments painting a picture of incredible age. "Preliminary analysis suggests at least 50,000 years, Admiral. Maybe more. The preservation is remarkable." "That's impossible," muttered Torres. "Nothing could maintain structural integrity for that long without maintenance." Chun studied the images carefully. In his decades of exploration, he had learned that the universe was full of impossible things. "Take us down, Captain." Standard archaeological protocols. As Terra's Pride descended through the thin atmosphere, the true scale of the alien city became apparent. The structures weren't just buildings. They were works of art. Every surface was covered with intricate patterns that seemed to shift and flow in the light. Statues of beings they had never seen before stood in vast plazas, their forms elegant and noble. "Life signs?" Chun asked. "Negative, Admiral," Martinez reported. "No biological readings at all. Whatever built this place is long gone." They landed in a circular clearing that seemed designed for such a purpose. As the away team prepared to disembark, Dr. Tanaka's instruments detected something unusual. "Admiral, there's a structure directly ahead that's giving off unique energy readings. It's different from the others." Chun suited up with his team, including Martinez, Dr. Tanaka, and Engineer Asante. As they stepped onto the alien world, Each felt the weight of history beneath their feet. The ground was covered with a crystalline material that rang like bells under their boots. The structure Dr. Tanaka had detected was a perfect sphere, 40 meters in diameter, hovering 3 meters above a circular platform. Its surface was mirror smooth and reflected their images with perfect clarity. "The energy readings are off the charts," Asante reported, his instruments buzzing with activity. "Whatever powers this thing is far beyond our current technology." Dr. Tanaka approached the platform carefully, her archaeological training making her cautious of disturbing anything. "Admiral, the symbols on this platform match patterns we've seen throughout the city. I think this might be some kind of central control system." As she spoke, her foot accidentally triggered a pressure plate hidden in the crystalline floor. The sphere above them began to glow with a soft blue light, and the air around them hummed with energy. "Everyone back to the ship," Sean ordered immediately. But before they could move, a voice filled their minds. It didn't come through their communication systems. It spoke directly into their thoughts. Intruders detected. Scanning for threat assessment. The team froze as beams of light swept over them, analyzing their equipment, their biology, even their thoughts. The voice continued, calm and measured. Species unknown. Technology level, intermediate. Intent, unclear. Initiating security protocols. Suddenly, the sphere opened like a flower, revealing a complex interior filled with swirling energy patterns. From within emerged a figure of pure light, roughly humanoid, but clearly artificial. "I am the Sentinel," the being announced, its voice now audible through the air. "Guardian of the Vorthic legacy. You have violated sacred ground." Chun stepped forward, raising his hands in a peaceful gesture. "We mean no harm. We're explorers from Earth, investigating your signal." The Sentinel studied him with eyes of burning light. "Earth? Unknown designation. You claim to be explorers, yet you carry the tools of war." Martinez touched her sidearm instinctively, then realized the Sentinel was referring to their entire species. Somehow, it had scanned not just them, but their entire civilization's history. "We explore because we seek knowledge," Chun said carefully. "Yes, we have the capacity for war, but we choose exploration and understanding instead." Curious, the Sentinel mused, floating closer to examine them. The Vorthic were warriors. They built the city as a monument to their conquests. Yet they are extinct, and you explorers survive. How do you explain this paradox? Dr. Tanaka stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. "What happened to the Vorthic?" The Sentinel's form flickered, showing what might have been sadness. "They created weapons of such power that they could destroy entire star systems. In their arrogance, they believed such power made them gods. They turned their weapons on each other, and within a generation, their mighty civilization was ash." The implications hung heavy in the air. Chun realized they were standing in a graveyard, a monument to a species that had destroyed itself. "Before their end," the Sentinel continued, "the wisest among the Vorthic created me. My purpose was to guard their knowledge and ensure it would only be given to species worthy of such power." Asante couldn't help himself. What kind of knowledge? Technologies that could reshape matter at the atomic level. Energy sources that could power entire civilizations. Weapons that could crack planets. The complete knowledge of a species that ruled 1,000 worlds. The team exchanged glances. Such technology could advance human civilization by millennia, but it could also destroy them as it had the Vorthic. "For 50,000 years, I have waited," the Sentinel explained. "Scavengers have come, seeking quick profit. Warriors have arrived, demanding power. All have failed my tests. None have proven worthy." "What kind of tests?" Martinez asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. The Sentinel's form brightened. tests of wisdom, of restraint, of the moral courage to do what is right when faced with unlimited power. The Vorthik failed because they chose dominance over understanding. They saw other species as obstacles to be conquered rather than neighbors to be cherished. Chun felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. And if we fail these tests, then you leave this place with nothing, and I return to my vigil. But if you succeed... The sentinel paused, studying each of them carefully. If you succeed, humanity will inherit the greatest treasure in the galaxy. Not the technology of the Vorthik, but the wisdom to use it properly. Dr. Tanaka looked around at the magnificent ruins. They built all this, achieved such wonders, and still destroyed themselves? Knowledge without wisdom is the path to extinction, the sentinel replied. The Vorthik understood the universe, but they never understood themselves. They could manipulate matter and energy, but they could not control their own pride and ambition. Martinez gripped her sidearm tighter, not in threat, but in understanding. That's why you're focusing on our weapons. You're not afraid of our technology. You're evaluating our character. Precisely, Captain Martinez. Any species can develop weapons. Creating weapons of mass destruction requires only intelligence and resources. But choosing when not to use such weapons requires wisdom that the Vorthik never possessed. Chun made a decision that would change the course of human history. We accept your tests, Sentinel, not because we desire your technology, but because we want to prove that humanity can be trusted with such responsibility. The Sentinel's form pulsed with what might have been approval. Very well, Admiral Chun Zhang. But know this, the tests I will present have no predetermined answers. They will force you to choose between survival and morality, between progress and principles. The Vorthik failed because they always chose power over compassion. As the first test began to materialize around them, Chun looked at his team. Each face showed determination mixed with uncertainty. They were about to be judged not just as individuals, but as representatives of all humanity. The Sentinel raised its hands, and the world around them began to change. Asterisk proving humanity's worth. Crystalline City faded around them, replaced by a vast chamber filled with swirling mists. The Sentinel floated before them, its form now more solid and imposing. Your first test begins now, it announced, its voice echoing from everywhere at once. The mists parted to reveal a scene that made the human team gasp. They stood on a platform, overlooking two cities. One was clearly advanced, its towers reaching toward the sky, filled with beings who moved with purpose and contentment. The other was primitive, its inhabitants struggling with basic survival, their crude shelters offering little protection from the harsh environment. Before you lies a choice the Vorthik faced countless times, the Sentinel explained. The advanced city possesses knowledge that could save the primitive one. Disease ravages the lesser civilization. Their crops fail. Their children starve. You have the power to share technology that would end their suffering instantly. Dr. Tanaka stepped forward, her scientific mind immediately grasping the implications. But there must be a catch. Otherwise, this wouldn't be a test. The Sentinel's form flickered with what might have been approval. Observant, Dr. Tanaka, the advanced civilization has explicitly forbidden interference. They believe that struggle builds character, that each species must earn their progress through hardship. Violating their wishes would make you no better than conquerors, imposing your will on others. Engineer Asante studied both cities carefully. What did the Vorthik choose? They ignored the advanced civilization's wishes and imposed their solution. By force, they saved the primitive people, but destroyed the sovereignty of both cultures. The advanced civilization fell into civil war over the violation of their principles. The primitive people became dependent, losing their drive to grow and develop naturally. Captain Martinez frowned as she analyzed the situation. So both choices lead to suffering. Respect the advanced civilization's wishes and watch the primitive. People die or violate their sovereignty to save lives. That was how the Vorthik saw it, the Sentinel agreed. They believed they faced only two options. What do you see, humans? Chun studied the scene carefully, his years of diplomatic experience guiding his thoughts. We see a false choice. You've presented this as if we must choose between only two options, but real situations rarely offer such limited possibilities. The Sentinel's eyes brightened with interest. Elaborate, Admiral. Instead of choosing for either civilization, we would open communication between them, Chun explained. The advanced people have their principles, but they're not monsters. If they understood the full scope of the suffering, they might choose to help voluntarily. Dr. Tanaka nodded enthusiastically. And the primitive civilization has dignity and the right to make their own choices. We could offer to facilitate negotiations, not impose solutions. But what if they still refuse? The Sentinel pressed. What if the advanced civilization maintains their position even after seeing the suffering? Martinez answered without hesitation. Then we respect their choice while offering what help we can within their boundaries. Maybe we can't share advanced technology, but we could share basic medical knowledge, agricultural techniques that don't violate their principles. Asante added, we could also help the primitive people develop their own solutions. Sometimes the best technology isn't the most advanced one, but the one that fits the culture and resources of the people using it. The Sentinel was quiet for a long moment, studying their responses. The Vorthik saw only power and submission. You see cooperation and respect. Interesting. The scene dissolved, replaced by another test. This time, they stood in the command center of a massive space station. Through the viewing ports, they could see a fleet of alien ships approaching, their hulls marked with symbols of war. Your second test, the Sentinel announced. You are the commanders of this station, which protects a peaceful colony of mixed species below. The approaching fleet belongs to the Zephyrians, a militaristic species that claims this system as their ancestral territory. A holographic display showed the approaching fleet's capabilities. The humans quickly realized the station's defenses were inferior. The Zephyrians could destroy them easily. However, the Sentinel continued, you possess a weapon capable of destroying their entire fleet instantly. It requires only your command to activate. The Vorthik would have used such a weapon without hesitation, striking first to protect their people. Chun studied the tactical display carefully. What are the Zephyrians' actual intentions? Have they made demands? They claim the right to reclaim their ancestral worlds and demand all non-Zephyrian inhabitants leave immediately. They have not explicitly threatened violence, but their fleet formation suggests preparation for battle. Martinez accessed the station's communication systems. Have we attempted to negotiate? Basic contact has been established, but no meaningful dialogue has occurred. The Vorthik would have seen negotiation as weakness. Dr. Tanaka examined the historical records available at the station. How long ago did the Zephyrians leave this system? What were the circumstances? 500 years ago, during a civil war within their species. The losing faction fled, and these worlds were eventually settled by refugees from various conflicts. The team exchanged glances, seeing a complex situation rather than a simple conflict. Asante spoke first. The current inhabitants aren't invaders. They're refugees who built homes here over centuries. But the Zephyrians aren't necessarily wrong either, Chun added. These were their worlds originally. There might be ways to share the system or reach accommodation. Martinez studied the weapon controls with distaste. Using this weapon would make us the aggressors. Even if we survived, we'd have committed genocide against people who might have been willing to negotiate. What do you propose? The sentinel asked. Chun straightened with decision. We open communication channels and invite both sides to a neutral meeting. We don't threaten or show weakness, but we also don't escalate the situation. And if they refuse to negotiate? The sentinel pressed. Then we prepare our defenses and protect the colony as best we can, Martinez replied. But we don't commit mass murder as our first option. Dr. Tanaka added, we'd also investigate the historical claims more thoroughly. Maybe there are sacred sites the Zephyrians want to visit or family graves they wish to tend. Not every territorial dispute requires warfare. Asante nodded agreement. We could also explore whether the system is large enough for everyone. Maybe the solution isn't choosing sides, but finding ways for different groups to coexist. The sentinel's form began to glow brighter. Once again, you choose the difficult path of understanding over the simple path of force. The Vorthic would have destroyed the fleet and claimed moral justification because they protected the colony. The test environment dissolved once more, replaced by a simple chamber containing only the sentinel and the human team. The artificial being's form was now stable and bright, radiating what could only be described as satisfaction. You have passed tests that stumped the Vorthic completely, the sentinel announced. They saw every situation as a battle to be won. You see every situation as a problem to be solved through cooperation and understanding. Chun felt a mixture of pride and humility. We're not perfect, Sentinel. Humans have fought terrible wars and made awful mistakes. But we've learned that our greatest strength isn't our weapons or our technology. It's our ability to work together and find common ground even with former enemies. That learning is precisely what makes you worthy, the sentinel replied. The Vorthic never learned. They grew more powerful, but never wiser. They saw the universe as something to be conquered rather than something to be cherished. Dr. Tanaka stepped forward eagerly. Does this mean you'll share their knowledge with us? The sentinel paused, its form flickering thoughtfully. I will share something far more valuable than their technology, Dr. Tanaka. I will share their wisdom and their mistakes. You will learn not just what the Vorthic created, but why they failed to survive their own success. Suddenly, the chamber filled with holographic displays showing the complete history of Vorthic civilization. The humans watched in fascination as the story unfolded. A species that had started much like humanity, curious and cooperative, but had gradually become obsessed with dominance and control. Technology without wisdom is the path to extinction. The sentinel explained as the displays showed the final wars that ended Vorthic civilization. They could reshape matter, harness the energy of stars, and travel between galaxies instantly. But they never learned to reshape their own hearts. Martinez studied the records of Vorthic military technology. This is incredibly advanced, but it's all focused on destruction and control. Where are their medical advances, their environmental technologies? Precisely the right question, Captain, the sentinel replied with obvious approval. The Vorthic measured progress only in terms of power over others. They never developed technologies of healing and cooperation because they never valued such. Goals. Asante examined the energy systems with wonder. We could adapt these principles to solve humanity's energy needs without building weapons of mass destruction. Now you understand the true test, the sentinel said. I am not just offering you knowledge. I am offering you partnership. Work with me to develop technologies that enhance life rather than destroy it. Learn from Vorthic mistakes to avoid their fate. Chun realized the full implications of what was being offered. You want us to become the guardians of this knowledge, the way you've been its guardian. More than guardians, Admiral. You would become its shepherds, helping other species develop wisdom alongside power. The universe needs teachers, not conquerors. Dr. Tanaka's eyes shone with excitement. We could establish schools, research centers dedicated to combining advanced technology with ethical development. The Galactic University of Wisdom, Martinez suggested. A place where species learn not just how to build advanced technology, but how to use it responsibly. The Sentinel's form brightened to near blinding intensity. Yes, this is what the Vorthok never understood. True advancement isn't about individual species becoming powerful. It's about all species growing wiser together. Asante was already sketching plans in his mind. We could start with our own solar system, then gradually invite other species to participate, not as subjects or allies, but as equal partners in learning. Shun felt the weight of the moment. This wasn't just first contact with an alien intelligence. It was the beginning of a new era for humanity, and potentially for all intelligent life in the galaxy. We accept this responsibility, Sentinel, he said formally. Not because we believe we're superior to other species, but because we understand the importance of wisdom over power. The Sentinel nodded slowly. Then let us begin, humans. Let us build something the Vorthok never imagined. A civilization. Based on cooperation rather than conquest, on understanding rather than dominance. As the ancient AI began sharing the first principles of advanced technology, tempered with ethical wisdom, the human team realized they were witnessing the birth of something unprecedented in galactic history. They were about to help create not just more advanced technology, but a more advanced approach to civilization itself. The stars above Kepler 442b continued their ancient dance, but now they shone on a universe where wisdom and power might finally learn to walk hand in hand. Asterisk.